What's going on, people? I want to speak on interdimensional beings, extra-dimensional beings, supernatural dreams, nightmares, visions, what have you. Whenever I want to talk about this subject, I somewhat get stuck. Before I even start the video, I have an ideal in mind. But then once I start the video, I get stuck. Really don't know where to start. There is so much information that's in my spirit. So much information and experience that's in my soul, that's in my mind. Information that I want to share. Quite a few times I thought about sitting down trying to write a book on interdimensional beings, nightmares, demons, angels, things that people only read about, hear about, or even watch on television. And what people must realize, that things you see on TV that's supposed to be supernatural in nature, that's supposed to be demons, and many times they are real. They came from someone's imagination. People are inspired by things or beings that's not of this world. Even when we look at the Gnostic text, and it talks about how man was taught the weaponry of war, or taught how to craft weapons by angels. So you had fallen angels that actually taught man the art of weaponry, how to make knives, guns, bow and arrows, weapons of war. If you look at a lot of blades that's made, that in many cases they call or refer to as fantasy knives. Where do you think the idea came from? Now, many of you would say some man created that. Yes, man was used to forge that knife, to actually bring that into the natural realm. But where did the idea of that fantasy blade come from? He was inspired by something or someone not of this world. I was talking to my son earlier, about maybe an hour ago, because he came to me about a dream he had the other night. And I'm not going to tell that dream, but much of what happens to him and my other son happened to me while I'm growing up, or while I was growing up. Which leads me to wonder if many spiritual gifts are hereditary. Because I'm sure many of y'all heard that, people that call themselves witches or warlocks and claim to go through certain initiations say that it's in their bloodline, that they have relatives that were at one time a warlock or a witch. So is it really hereditary? Because I know my sons, I have two sons, and both of them had displayed some traits of being gifted spiritually. And I think a lot of stuff that when you are natural, you're born with that. You don't need tarot cards, you don't need Ouija boards, you don't need any of those divination tools to contact the next realm or other realms. You don't need that, because you yourself are a tool. And if you want to use the term of divination, I don't like the term because it goes into a completely different realm of ideas. But just for the sake of this video, you actually become the dowling rod. You actually become the crystals. You become the candles that you light. You become any tool that's used to contact the spirit realm or the supernatural, or to experience something supernatural. Like I said, there's so much that I want to say, but I don't really know how to express it. I don't know how to bring it out. I want to. So you become that tool, and to enter that realm, there's no need for drugs or alcohol or contacting demons or spirit guides. Because when it's time, when the spirit realm have a message for you, or have a message for you to relate to humankind, like in the Bible, when it talks about the creation of Adam and Eve, and how the Most High caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he was able to work with Adam. And I'll leave it right there. So when the spirit realm is ready to teach you or instruct you, a deep sleep will come upon you. An uncontrollable sleep will come upon you, and you enter into an interdimensional or extra dimensional or even a parallel universe realm. You do that without the help or aid of yourself, because you are that tool to divine. So you enter into this realm and you intermingle with other beings. You actually become like the beings that are here on earth. Unless you're spiritual, you can't really tell the difference between a human and an extra dimensional being that put on the meat suit of a human being. So in your natural mind, you only see a human, but you're not aware, or you have no knowledge of the spiritual talent or gift or energy that's within that person. You may discern it. You may feel something different with that person, but you really can't understand it. You may even dislike that person just because of the nature or the goodness of this spirit, because maybe your spirit is evil, or vice versa. So in the interdimensional realm, when we actually travel to that interdimensional realm or extra dimensional realm or even parallel universe, we become like them. And they're not able to tell the difference between you being an earthling or you being like them. So now they speak to you, they talk to you because there's a comfort level that they have with you. They're not afraid of you. They're not ready to put you on an experimental table and dissect you to find out what you are, who you are, or where you came from. So in that interdimensional realm, you could fall in love. You may have sexual encounters. You may even become wealthy in that realm. You're happy in that realm. You're peaceful in that realm. And then when you come back, without the aid of yourself, because in many cases we try to stay there because we like what we feel. We come back and we wake up disappointed, but in many times, in most cases, you come back a new person with enlightenment and with information to pass on to this world. So when we think of interdimensional beings, and there were times, and I'm skipping around, I know I'm skipping around because, like I said, there's so much that I want to say. There's so much that I want to reveal when it comes to the experience I had from a child coming up, from the time I came into this world, even into my adulthood. And it's funny because things that will scare you, things that will cause you to have a heart attack, I look at as the norm because I'm so used to experiencing that. I was talking to my sons, and it's good to have someone when you're gifted and you're talented like that. It's good to have someone to talk to. And that's one of the things that my son and I were talking about, because things that they experience, they can't talk to their girlfriends about that. They just can't talk to anybody because now people would think you're crazy. They're ready to lock you up. Or in most cases, they wonder, what did you eat or smoke or drink before you went to bed or before you went to sleep? So, and they may sympathize with you and try to pretend or make you feel like they understand. But in reality, you feel that there's no connection there. They can't understand because they never experienced what you've experienced. Although they may go to church or claim to be a Christian or a Muslim, or may be a part of some type of religious or spiritual organization, they still have not had that connection with the unseen. They're still carnal or gross matter in nature. So they can't relate to what you're saying. So when it comes to having that type of gift or talent, you become lonely in this world. You become depressed in this world. You see things that you can't even speak. It's difficult for you to even warn people of the things that you see, of oncoming dangers. You see them, but you can't warn them because they may not be ready. There's times I've hinted around people, and there's times I even came straight out and told them what was happening. And in turn, they became aggressive and angry and violent. And it scared them away because in their mind, they're trying to figure out, how do you know my secrets? Who told you this? Who were you talking to? And these are questions that people ask. Who are you talking to? Who told you that? Only one other person knows. So you must know this individual. You must have spoken to this individual. And it's hard to convince them that it was revealed to you in a vision or in a dream. So when you have people that come up and claim that they're psychics or witches and they have all this power, and we can just see right on YouTube where there's people that don't know what to do if they really had the abilities to do the things that they want to do. You got people on YouTube that call themselves witches that are actually trying to hurt people with something that they themselves don't understand. Because, like I mentioned earlier in this video, you become the tools, you become the information in those books, because the information that's within you did not come from a book. You have pure, untainted energy, knowledge from the unseen realm that this world has no knowledge of. Now, it may be interpreted in a language they can understand, but in the original spirit language, it's completely different and have a different level of understanding. But the language we speak in English gives you only the surface of what's being related to you. I mentioned in a video of the past when I was traveling, and I can usually tell when I travel to another dimension. I become extremely sleepy, and that's what one of my sons had just experienced a few nights ago, and he was telling me the things that he saw, right? And he was telling me how it's really hard, because he said, in his words, he said, it's good, but at the same time it's bad. It's a blessing, but yet it's a curse, because you see these things. It's good that you're able to experience that, especially from a very young age. You just can't become an adult and all of a sudden you have all of this power and these abilities. It don't work like that. This comes with you into the world. You come into this world with that ability, that natural talent, that natural ability, and it works and operates with or without you. With or without any assistance from you, it automatically works. You can't stop the visions. You can't stop the dreams. You can't stop knowing what's to come. You can't stop that. You try to fight it and try to repress it, but you can't stop it, because the minute you fall asleep and when it's time for the universe or from the unseen to speak to you or speak to your spirit, like in the book of Genesis, a deep sleep comes upon you. An uncontrollable deep sleep, regardless of what you're doing, you're dozing. And before you realize it, you're into an extremely different realm of existence. Extremely different. Extremely different realm. And I remember I woke up one night to go back, because like I said, I'm skipping around, but I got so much in my head, so much in my spirit that want to come out, and I don't know how to bring it out. I was in this vision. This deep sleep came on me, and I end up in this vision, and it was like a nightmare, you know. And although I'm used to seeing monsters, so to speak, or I'm used to seeing demons or angels, and yes, I've seen angels before. I had even seen the Most High sitting on a throne. And when I saw that vision, I was awake. It's when I used to work for a digital equipment corporation. And I was talking to a friend of mine. And he's now a minister. He's a pastor now. And while I was speaking to him, at that moment, it's like I entered into a different realm, and I saw into a realm. And I saw this figure seated on a throne in heaven. And I'm not talking about where the stars are and the sun and the moon. I'm not talking about that heaven. But I saw him seated on a throne. He was on a pearly white throne. And he wasn't black, he wasn't white, he was a spirit. But his face, there was like a light. His face was like fire. You know, this person seated on a throne, sitting there, but his face was fire. And it happened just in the matter of seconds. And my mind wasn't it. I was talking to him, and all of a sudden I went into this vision. And he had no idea that I'm seeing this vision. He just noticed an expression on my face. But it's like my mind automatically went to this vision, and I saw him seated on the throne. You know, just like that, it can happen. Just like that, you can enter into an entirely different realm. So a lot of times, like, a deep sleep comes on you, and you enter into this realm. And I recall, like, that happened, like when that happened to me, and I was in this realm, and I tried to come back, and I pulled myself out of it. I forced myself out of this realm, because I didn't like what was going on there. It was rough, and this is where that part of the curse, I mean, that gift seemed like a curse. It's a blessing and a curse. Like my son was saying, it's a blessing and a curse, because it's good that you experience this and the things you see, but at the same time, there's another side of it that's not too friendly, you know, because when you're talented and gifted like that, you're gonna become a magnet, just like you are a tool of the unseen, of the supernatural, or of the divining, or whatever you choose to call it. Just like you become the tool, you now become a magnet of all other forces that's out there, good and bad. And I know that there's people that talk about the law of attraction. You attract which is like yourself. But that's not always true, because you could be a good person and still draw evil to you, or you could be what is perceived as an evil person, and goodness is drawn to you. That's that favor, that's that grace and that mercy of the Most High that's drawn to you, hoping to inspire you to change. So you become a magnet. So people or humans that's possessed, or that's being unctioned by demonic beings or interdimensional beings, are gonna see you and recognize you. You may have somebody to walk past you that you don't know, And in that person's eyes, in their face, in their being, not the flesh, but this person's energy is hateful towards you. You see their eyes, because we know the eyes are the windows to your soul. So you see this person, something within that person is staring at you hard because they recognize who you are and what you are. The gaze and the look of their eyes become a language to you. Without even speaking a word, this person's eyes are communicating with you, and you hearing and feeling and sensing what these eyes are saying to you without them even mentioning a word. So does it have anything to do with your mind or your spirit? But when the eyes look at you, you see a language that's speaking to you, and you recognize who that spirit is or what that spirit is. But the individual where that spirit is possessing have no idea of what they're doing and what their eyes are seeing from within. So that came out of nowhere. Maybe it was meant to be said, but it's a language. So now you have that, you become a magnet to draw that energy towards you. So you may run into people that you just can't get rid of. They feel that attachment to you. They always have questions for you because their spirit language is speaking to your spirit. And they're hungry and thirsty because they're like my sons. They're like me, that feel lonely at times because we have no one to share information. The only people I have to share my information with is my family, because they know me, right? And I noticed in my, and I'm gonna close the video because I can go on forever. I noticed even with my little granddaughter, I'm recognizing some things in her. And she's starting to have dreams and visions. She's starting to be visited by certain beings or entities, because she talks about them. And she says little things that it's like she's got an old soul, because so much wisdom comes from her. And I'm like, where did she get that from? Who has she been listening to? Who did she hear say that? You know? And she's actually gifted and talented as well. But what's unfortunate is people that are born talented and gifted, unfortunately, most of us, I'm lucky to have had my family, my mother, my sisters, my brother, and then maybe a couple of other gifted people I've met in my journey that I can actually talk to. I can actually let my hair down to. Now, I know I shave my head, but I can actually let my hair down around them. Very few people, though, that I can actually talk to about what I see and what I know. And even with them, I'm limited on the information that I share. But even with my granddaughter, it's like, it's unfortunate because you have people that grow up with a talent or a gift and they have no one to talk to. So, or they have no one to really guide them and teach them how to use their gift or their talent, when to speak and when not to speak. You know, I've had people run from me. You know, people I didn't know, I walk up to them and I'll share something with them. I'll see it and I'll share it with them. And this one lady looked at me with terror in her eyes, and she literally ran from me. You know, and she came out the store, she made sure she go around the other way, and she was like, how did you know that? You know, and it scared her. So you have to know when and when not to speak. And you find that people that's usually gifted, that's born with the talent, they're not quick to hurt people. You know, it's like, you know yourself, you know what you're capable of doing just by thought, or just by spoken words. You don't need to bury no bones, or you don't need to take someone's picture and freeze it and do all this other nonsense that people say you do to cause harm upon people. You don't need to do that, because you're the tool. You're the tools that you need. You have everything in you when you're born that way. And help me understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying this is just for everybody, but when you are born with a gift and talent, you don't need to read no books. You don't need no Ouija board. You don't need no tarot cards. You don't need any of that stuff, man, because the stuff is pure evil. That's pure evil right there, and there's nothing righteous or holy about that. And the only thing you're doing is setting yourself up for destruction. Destruction in the natural realm, in the spirit realm, and even among your seed. Because later, for a woman, if she becomes pregnant and you give birth to a child, you have no idea what type of demon seed that you're bringing into the world. Because those spirits that you commune with, those spirits become a part of you. You welcome them in. So they want to be able to operate in this gross material plane. So now you become their vehicle. They control your sex urges. They control your emotions, your feelings. They at times even choose your mate. So you may become pregnant by someone that you really don't, in your own mind, want to be your child's father. But that spirit that you invited in has got interest for that person, because it sees the level of evil that's in that person. So now you end up opening yourself up to this man. He impregnates you. He goes to jail or prison, or even he's killed, because like that spider kills off the man, right? So that spirit kills off this man. He dies in the street, a violent death. So now you give birth to what you call a spawn. That's a spawn child that you give birth to. And now that child is wreaking havoc in this world and in society. That spirit now possesses that child in your womb. And now you give birth to that same spirit that you've been communing with. And that's that spirit's way of trying to survive or operate in this plane without you now. So when that child is born, even from birth, at times you may feel that there's no connection with that child. Well, that's because that's not your child. That's that spirit that's been looking for a way to live again. Now, for you Bible thumpers out there, I know the Bible says it's appointed man wants to die, but after that, the judgment. But we're not talking about that man that died. We're talking about that essence, that life force, that spirit that still dwells in this plane, that's illegal. That's a demon, that's unclean, looking for a way to exist in the natural realm, in the physical realm. So now you invite that spirit in from Ouija boards and trying to be a psychic and tarot cards. and you invite that demon in, you become pregnant from someone that you didn't choose. The spirit chose that. Or what you may refer to as your spirit guide. And now, when you become pregnant, before the spirit enters your womb, your child's womb, or your child, before the spirit of that child enters in, that spirit takes possession. And you give birth to that spawn that becomes evil in society. And that's why we see situations now, and I'm gonna close on this. You see humans now, or subhuman species now, that can get run over by a 4x4 truck, take him down, and he get up and keep running. Or you get a female to get knocked out by a big man, she fall flat and then get up like nothing hurt her. That's because we're dealing with subhuman species, a lot of which was born through divining of lies. So I'm gonna end it right there. Maybe I'll make another video when my mind is not as scattered and I'm able, and it's kind of hard to put things, keep things in perspective, because the spirit realm, the interdimensional realm, the parallel universe is so vast. It's huge. And it's not what we see with the naked eye, but what we see in the spirit. In closing, I shared this before, like when I came out the service and I was laying in the bed sleep, and I felt something hit me on the back of my head, slapped me on the back of my hands, open hand, slapped me right on the back of my head. And I jumped up and looked, and I saw an image standing there. It had a round head, it had a nose or a snoot like a dog. The body was kind of fat. The hands were like slewfoot. Like if you put your hands together, your two fingers, the feet were like that on the floor. And it had these big white eyes just sitting there staring at me in the night. When I saw that, I turned over and went to sleep. I went back to sleep. And see, that's how used to seeing these things you become when you come into this world with a talent, a natural talent and gift. You're taught from a child, from birth, to be used to seeing those things. It's just like when a child is born and they're used to seeing their mom or their dad, or you know, their uncle or family members around them. They can identify who you are. They know who you are, right? Well, that's how it is in the spirit realm when you come into this world. See, so those spirits come at you as time go on. You get used to it. You know, you'll have the nightmares when you're little and you wake up screaming, and like I had to go through, and my mom's coming in there, you know, almost breaking her leg, trying to get in to see what's wrong with me, and I'm crying, or I'll see a vision of somebody's about to die, and then wake up, tell my moms, and before the day's out, somebody get killed, you know. So, you know, you get used to that. So when interdimensional beings reveal themselves to you, you become used to it. You know, you get used to that, you know, and it doesn't bother you, it doesn't scare you. Okay, so feedback, tell me what you think. Until next time, I'm fearless.